Hey y'all, it's Desiree and I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that's been on my heart for some time now. It has definitely been on the heart of God. He wants to talk to his daughters regarding valuing themselves and knowing the difference between inner beauty, external beauty, and vanity. And also, he wants his daughters to understand that how you dress is a representation of you. I personally have not always dressed in the best representation of myself, and I really feel led in my heart to kind of speak to how it is that I came to understand to value myself more, not only internally, but externally as well, and allowing that to reflect in the way that I dress. So first, I'm going to just kind of share a few experiences that I had that really began to open up my eyes, when God really began to put it on my heart that I'm worth so much more than how I was showing up in the world. So for the first experience, I was in my hometown and there's this gas station called Fuel City. And I want to say that, every city has like that one gas station that's kind of like a hangout spot, especially at nighttime, especially on the weekends and stuff. And people just pull up and it's just like a lot of people out there just really doing nothing. But I really like Fuel City because they sell the best tacos. So I had got me some tacos and I got me some corn. And I had on like these jeggings and this crop top. I go to walk outside back to the car and it just feels like everybody's looking at me, like in the sense of I just felt so naked and exposed, just very much uncomfortable. And God says to me, how would you feel if your husband saw you right now? And the first thing that I thought of is, one, if this is a man of God, clearly, why would he want to approach me dressed like this? And two, he would not see me for what I would want him to see me for. I just really felt so much conviction, and it's just like in that moment, that was the first time that I was just truly like, yeah, I need to change the way that I dress. And it wasn't just simply based off the fact that God said what he said, but because overall, I knew that I truly wanted to live a life of righteousness. I really wanted to live according to his will, according to his purpose. And fast forward a few months later, I ended up going to the Houston Galleria. And this is a really huge mall. And I'm just walking the mall. And it's like God just really gave me the eyes to see that day. And I just saw so many beautiful women, beautiful bodies, just half naked. And it was just like, wow, this is how this really looks. And I saw this one girl and she was really pretty and she had a really nice body and she just had some really skimpy clothes on. And she was like walking from behind me. And before I saw her, I saw this young man in front of me. And the way that he's looking is just like he under hypnosis or something. And so next thing you know, she comes switching by me and I'm like, oh, that's why he looking like that. And so I'm just sitting back in the cut and I could just tell this man could not wait until that girl passed him enough for him to hit the turn around. And when I say when this man went to turn around, I don't know how his head did not fall off. In the spirit, the energy that came over him was like borderline scary. It just seemed so predatory. And I just remember thinking like, wow, I never want to make a man feel like that. I never want to draw that out of a man. Because at that point, it's not just him that's enticed. It's the spirit behind him. So then fast forward a few more months or so, and I'm at the Kroger pharmacy drive-thru. And there used to be this girl that used to work the pharmacy drive-thru. And she was so beautiful. And I'm not sure what religion that is, where they wear like a full covering. Their hair is covered, arms are covered, legs. But that's what she was dressed like. And she just really seemed like a very sweet girl. She seemed like she had a very sweet spirit. And I just thought to myself like, wow, I could see how a man could find her attractive. But it's like, unless you marry that woman, you don't know what is given up under all them clothes. And I just had such an appreciation for that. And it made me grow that much more appreciation for choosing to serve my God in the same way. So now I want to kind of talk about why it is that I feel like I, and for a lot of other women, felt or feel that it's okay to dress in such a revealing way. One, I definitely feel like it has a lot to do with the representation that we saw around us growing up, coming up, or the lack thereof. Whether it's because your mom, the women in the family dressed a certain way, or the content that you were consuming. You know, a lot of us grew up looking at MTV and BET music videos and things of that sort. And two, I feel like also it's because even as little girls, children, you know, through cartoons, kid shows, little girls are truly conditioned to seek the male gaze. Because why am I watching Penny Proud? Why am I watching Lizzie McGuire? Why am I watching Degrassi and all of these shows targeting children? And they're talking about having boyfriends, or they're dressing a certain way, or they're leaving the house in one outfit with a little skimpy outfit tucked away in their backpack. All of that is by design. And then as you get older, going to the mall, shopping at clothing brands that are targeted to young women, targeted to teens, you know, Forever 21, etc. What do you see? You see the little shorts, you see the mini dresses, you see the mini skirts. It all plays a part. And if you really sit back and think about it, little girls, young women, as well as adult women are conditioned to seek or please the male gaze. But at that time, it was kind of conflicting for me because I really was, you know, having to unlearn and unpack that. And on one end, I knew that I did not want to present myself in a certain way, in that way anymore. But with that being all that I knew, essentially, I didn't really know, okay, so how do I dress now? Or what does that look like for me? And I just remember God saying to me one day, you know, how do you view the woman that I'm calling you to be? How do you view the woman that you are desiring to be? And I knew that God had purposed me for ministry. I knew that God had purposed me to be a wife. And my son was a lot younger at the time. And I knew that I wanted to show a certain representation for him as well. But just truthfully, at that time, I felt so far from that. I felt so unworthy, undeserving of that. And that brings me to a point that I want to make, just truly recognizing how insecurity and unworthiness plays a role in how you show up in the world. I think when we think of self-confidence, especially pertaining to women, we tend to think of the physicality only. It's almost as if we think that pretty people, attractive people aren't insecure, or they don't battle self-worth issues. Or we tend to think that if we find ourselves attractive, then we must not be insecure. But no woman who truly respects themselves, who truly knows their worth and values themselves, will dress half naked or dress inappropriately. Because you're going to present yourself accordingly. You're going to present yourself according to what it is that you feel about yourself. And I will say that at that time in my life, I definitely felt so destroyed internally. And looking back, I could see how I subconsciously dressed according to my self-worth. But as I continued to grow in God, as God began to further reveal his love, his purpose, and his word over my life, it caused me to start viewing myself differently. And in the meantime, I literally was just throwing my clothes away. And I got down to a good 3-4 outfits. And I truly just did not even care. And I would rotate them outfits. And you just could not tell me that I was not cute each time. And all I would think about is, you know what? But I know that how I'm dressed is pleasing to God. And I truly, truly appreciate that time, that season in my life, because I started to find my true beauty in covering up my external beauty. 1 Timothy 2:9-10 says, I want women to show their beauty by dressing in appropriate clothes that are modest and respectable. Their beauty will be shown by what they do, not by their hairstyles or the gold jewelry, pearls, or expensive clothes they wear. This is what is proper for women who claim to have reverence for God. Another version says, and I want women to be modest in their appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves by the way they fix their hair or by wearing gold or pearls or expensive clothes. For women who claim to be devoted to God should make themselves attractive by the good things they do. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, you know, the world truly grooms women to lead with their external beauty, but God calls us to lead with our internal beauty. Ezekiel 10-15 says, I gave you expensive clothing of fine linen and silk, beautifully embroidered, and sandals made of fine goatskin leather. I gave you lovely jewelry, bracelets, beautiful necklaces, a ring for your nose, earrings for your ears, and a lovely crown for your head. And so you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were made of fine linen and costly fabric, and were beautifully embroidered. You ate the finest foods, choice flour, honey, and olive oil, and became more beautiful than ever. You looked like a queen, and so you were. Your fame soon spread throughout the world because of your beauty. I dressed you in my splendor and perfected your beauty, says the sovereign Lord. But you thought your fame and beauty were your own, so you gave yourself as a prostitute to every man who came along. Your beauty was theirs for the asking. It says, but you thought your fame and beauty were your own. So clearly it's not a sin to have external beauty, it's vanity that's the sin. And I know that Ezekiel 16 is speaking to Jerusalem, but it's evident that this applies to women, to daughters of God as well. The thing about it, we're supposed to make sure that we are stewarding internal beauty, catering to our internal beauty, putting forth effort into our internal beauty, and allowing God to display our external beauty at His will. Because, believe it or not, God has a certain way that He wants to dress you. God has a certain way that He wants your external beauty to shine. Just like He handcrafted your physical beauty, He also wants to handcraft your external beauty. How you dress, how you show up in the world. And I think for a lot of women, especially young women, the idea of dressing godly, dressing modestly, looks like a skirt down to your ankles, a long sleeve loose shirt, baggy loose clothes, nothing form-fitting. But that is not the case, because I still dress the same way that I used to dress. The only difference is now it's appropriate in God's eyes. Because you can still wear the form-fitted dress. You can still wear the jeggings. You can still wear the crop top. I love skirts. The only difference now is they're longer. You'll be surprised just how much of a difference buttoning up them two buttons make. Choosing one color over another color, or the difference in fabric. You can still be cute, you can still be on trend, and still be dressed in a way that's pleasing to God. And listen, God loves going shopping. And the best part about it, who knows what you like and how you desire to dress better than God Himself? And I could just tell that He truly adores you, including Him in how you choose to represent yourself as His daughter. And just like He said in Ezekiel, I gave you the finest fabrics. I gave you expensive clothing. God's desire is truly for you to look your best and feel your best. I remember it was one time I had put on one of my 3 outfits that I had at the time, and I was just standing in the mirror and I was just like, yup, like I just feel so cute. And it's just something about knowing that you are honoring God by how you are dressed. And I heard Him so loud and so clear, and He was just like, you look so cute. And that was just so funny to me, and it was just the sweetest thing, because I really felt His love in that moment, and it truly felt like a loving dad, like something a loving dad would say to his daughter. So fast forward to now, I can say that I can truly see a difference in how now that I show up differently in the world, I'm treated a lot differently. And I noticed that I'm complimented a lot more. And I'm not speaking of men, because honestly, men do not approach me like at all. But I just noticed that a lot more women compliment me, and a lot of young children, young girls. It was a little girl the other day, I was taking a walk, and she just kept looking back at me, and I'm not gonna lie, I was just like, why did this little girl keep looking at me? But as I was about to pass them up, she was like, you look so pretty. And that just really warmed my heart. Or I remember I was at Chick-fil-A one day, and this little girl, she was doing the same thing. She just kept looking at me, and her family were about to leave, and she just walked up to me and she was like, you are so beautiful. And she just had the kindest, sweetest eyes. And I don't know, that just really touches me, because I know it's not just the external beauty that they're complimenting. It's the beauty that comes from within that they see, that the purity of a child is seeing. But like I said, when it comes to men, I do not get approached at all, but I could really sense and tell that a lot of men make it their business to treat me with a certain level of respect. And the male gaze is different. When a man is looking at me, it's not like, oh, she fine. That's a beautiful woman. And I can even sense that for some men, they may not even find me externally beautiful, but it's a certain inner beauty that I carry that they find attractive, that they appreciate. Because listen, everybody ugly to somebody. But I know it's because external beauty pleases the flesh, but true beauty, a beauty that only God can give, has the power to calm the soul. And I just noticed that when I'm out sometimes, people just stare at me. And at first, when it first started to happen, I just truly did not understand why. Because for a long time, the inner beauty that I was beginning to carry, I couldn't even see it within myself. It wasn't until I continued to step further and further into the light of God, until I started walking in rooms and noticing that the same me, the same DJ, the same Desiree who stood in the back, head down in shame, drew the attention of those around me. Because at first, subconsciously, I used to think they were noticing my wounds, but people were beginning to notice the beauty on me, the beauty in me that only God can give. Hoodie and sweats or best dressed. Because internal beauty magnifies external beauty. In covering yourself, honoring yourself, and more importantly, honoring God in the way that you dress, further gives light to both. It's not enough to just be a woman of God. You have to represent yourself as a woman of God. I know we've all heard that saying, dress for the job you want. Keep that in mind when it comes to your purpose as well. You gotta wake up every day dressed for success. Because I know some of us have found ourselves saying, I know God has called me to a purpose. Why isn't He using me yet? But are you dressed for the job? I know God promised me a husband, but are you dressed for the job? Because you can easily miss a blessing, a breakthrough, an opportunity because you aren't dressed for the job. And most importantly, above all, you can miss your salvation. Because a woman who leads with her external beauty, who sees her beauty as her own, is a spiritual prostitute and idolater in God's eyes. Ezekiel 16 said it, not me. Because we know what we're doing when we putting on those certain pair of pants. We know what we're doing when we put on that low-cut blouse. We know what we're doing when we toot our little butt up for Instagram, for Snapchat. We know those certain angles. You know what it gave when you put that dress on. You know what you're doing in those leggings. You know what you're doing in that workout outfit, and you know you ain't going to nobody's gym. You know what you're doing posting that pic in that swimsuit, and God sees you. It's vanity. It's vain, and it leads to the grave. It's really not a game. As daughters of God, we truly need to go back to being the representation of Christ's bride. You can hear from any race, any ethnicity. All men want is one thing, but what are we being the representation of? At this point, even young girls are dressing skimpy. Even 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And of course, they have no control over that. But what are we teaching them? What are we showing them in representation? And in a world full of Cardi B's, Megan Thee Stallions, who's going to stand up and be the representation? Who's going to stand up and be the influence? Dressing appropriately is not just about honoring yourself. It's not just about honoring your husband. It's about honoring the Most High. So my prayer is that this video is encouraging to you today, that it feeds you in some way, and it causes you to be that much more mindful that your representation speaks for you. And not just you, but the God that you serve.